Alright, hello and welcome to another Battleforge PvP match. Today I am playing against Despooo, and I think this was quite an interesting rank game, because we see a rank game with two pure nature players. No, it's not double pure nature, but two nature tier 1 players. But yep, very interesting replay, and very interesting and long tier 1 fight. So we see Despooo starting with a different unit composition. He's using a Dryad, not going for Swift unit. He's playing Amazon, so that is not an option against nature because Amazon's DPS is just not relevant. In the meantime, Swiftclaw has a lot of M damage that might contest some of the nature units, so that was my starting choice. But yeah, Dryad, Shaman, and Spearman to sort of round out the composition. I still wait up until this guys come out of daze so I can switch to counter the M units, and then we can try to get into the first fight. So here's another variation. Despooo is using Tree Spirits over here, and I'm getting another Shaman into the mix. So right here we just tried to get down this Tree Spirit here before it comes out of daze, but it was not successful. And since I tried to heal with my Shaman, this just didn't work because Despooo was actually doing a great job at micromanaging his Dryads. He did really well with that. Got both Shamans, got the Dryad, and also the Swiftclaw, I think, for some time. And he switched this one. He's already sleeping again this Shaman here, and he's already again switching this for the Spearman. This is excellent Dryad micromanagement, and really wins him the fight over here. He's up like by 20 power because he got the the Swiftclaw for the Tree Spirit, and right now he's also picking up this Shaman here. So really, this was a brilliantly played early skirmish by Despooo. Really want to highlight that, and yeah, I will definitely rewatch this quite a few times. So in the end, I decided to retreat because I lost the encounter pretty heavily. Like that is such a big deal if you lose a Shaman for nothing. And yeah, right now the Spearmen are in a bad position, so I tried to trade the Spearmen, but since these ones were very isolated compared to his ones, they could just get out of the danger with a root. Now he even gets a Shaman for this. This is actually quite terrible for me. So at this point I just decide to retreat and give up fighting in tier 1 because this is a very bad position for me. And there's nothing I can do. Like if I fight him on open ground, the Shaman sustain is just unbeatable for me. I really need like 8 units or something, or like 7 at least, to get some units down before the Shaman rotation just heals everything up again, as you can see. And he also has 2 Dryads, so the aura is applied to almost every unit. So right now Des was also using another Tree Spirit, trying to push his advantage, and we both rooted. He tried to pick off my units, and I just counter-rooted to not get picked at this position. So I retreat back to my tier 1 position. I thought about picking up this tier 2 because I was at 150 power, but I decided that it's not worth it, and it ends up getting rushed anyways. So there's so many units over here, and I don't think that I really have the high DPS units in my tier 2 to like get rid of this fast enough. Especially with the low void income, because there's still a lot of bound power in my tier 1 units. Even though I lost a lot, there's still 5 units that are quite costly. So I decided to retreat back to my tier 1 orb, because this orb actually does quite a decent amount of damage. And the splash also might help to pick off units. So right here Despooo tries to push this, and also has like 3 S units now, so the Hurricane ends up being worth it. Because this just will pull in the Windweavers. Even if he retreats, these guys are just getting closer to me and my orb, so I get a second unit off, even though that was quite close. I ended up trading well here. All 3 Windweavers went down. My units are still alive, my 6 units over here, and he also is he's at 7 right now, so I'm down 1 unit. And I just try to maximize my damage onto single targets over here. This Tree Spirit in the front, trying to apply as many poison stacks as possible. This also works. Like he gets up to 3 units with this poison down, so this is a good amount of damage, but there's a lot of spread damage. It's kind of hard to focus anything. So the Shamans are quite good at healing against that. And I'm still trying to apply burst damage and try to get my units alive with using the Surge of Light. And he's trying to focus out my Dryad because I only have one, so I ended up microing this one, as it like took a lot of damage, and it pretty much has the lowest HP pool out of all of my units because it's the only one that does not have a Dryad buff. So in this position, Despooo retreats, and I'm at like 7 units. He's at 7 units. We're pretty equal over here, as you can see. Like it's 90 power on both sides. It's just that Despooo played a little bit more effective up to this point, because as you can see, his score is lower than mine, so he spent less power. Overall, even though we have an equal amount right now, he's slightly ahead at this point. And there he decides to go tier 2. And I think, since this was pure nature, I was wondering what he plays. If he plays Stonekin, and this might be a good choice, but since it's like pure nature, I decide to rush this, because I think I have a lot of units and really high amount of sustain, and this sustain might beat out the nature tier 2, because nature does not have any burst units. Like spirit hunters are trying to get like poison onto every unit, and this ticks down, but it deals a lot of damage, but it deals damage over time and not in burst rotation. So I'm trying to split a little bit, so not all of my units are getting oinked. It was kind of hard to like isolate my units and get them all around this power well, because he has this large army and would just focus out my units, so it was not worth it to try that. And yeah, this route is very important because I can heal up on this side, and these units are gonna get out of the oink right now, and now I get a pretty good attack from 2 angles onto him that allows me to inflict a lot of damage onto those shamans. And right here the splash damage of my units also comes into play. Immediately hurricaning the spirit hunters, because they will deal a lot of poison damage over the time. And yeah, right now we have a pretty solid difference in terms of army strength. I'm at 9 units and he just has 3 left, so that is pretty big over here. But yeah, he's tier 2, so he also has like a certain amount of void income. And yeah, so I think this Mauler was not a brilliant choice, I guess. The guy is facing a lot of M counters with these shamans, and yeah, there is that's it with the Mauler. He still tries to apply poison onto different targets in the meantime, but yeah, since shamans are still around, this is quite good. But very nice shaman focus here onto the Dryad. He just noticed that this Dryad was poisoned by the spirit hunters and just tried to finish it off quickly. So very important, because all of my units are losing the Dryad buff, which is a 25% damage reduction. Yeah, very important. I immediately play a new one, but I have to protect it because it's dazed, and he tries to oink, but yeah, it's getting out of daze, and some of the shamans were at the side. I should start splitting now, because right now I'm at a pretty high amount of units, and he mostly just will try to get damage done by using his spirit hunters, maybe ghost spears. Yeah, now he tries to distract me by using a burrower, but I don't want to let this one close to my base, because I'm still at nature tier 1, and yeah, I might have really big trouble dealing with units if they get close to my well. And he tries to protect with an oink, so this burrower stays alive for a while, which is quite an important moment here, because he gets a shaman pick off, and now he decides to just run away with his burrower and save it for later stages of the game. So this shaman dies to the spirit hunters, and there's the first deep one. Actually got to 120 power. I decided to root and kill this burrower here, because I think I'm pretty safe when it comes down to getting this orb now, due to the amount of units that I have here. Sleeping both units over here with the Dryads, and getting the damage done onto the orb. I just wanted to prevent this burrower from running to the center and picking up an orb again or something, or like picking up an orb over here. I wanted to force him to spawn another tier 1 unit at least, so he does not get his well for free. So deep 1 rooted, gets CC'd by the Dryad again. This chain CC can be really annoying to deal with if you have just this 1 unit and face this nature army, and this is why nature tier 1 actually does so well against nature tier 2. So Amazon gets spawned. As I said, like he has to bind 80 power into a tier 1 unit, and yeah, if he hadn't been forced to do this, he would be like at 250 power with tier 2. So the chances of defending this might have been different. So in the end, I'm also sitting at 160 power, and I decided to go tier 2 by myself because I'm playing Stonekin, and I have such a high amount of units, and yeah, that would be so great to support them with the Stonekin units. Yeah, I tried to sort of bait out the Amazon ability, but yeah, Despooo, I guess he knows how it works, so that would be definitely not worth it for him to like take my Swiftclaw for these 20 seconds, because if you use the Amazon ability, the unit that you kind of swap gets unbound, which is very, very bad, because then I just get the power back for the Swiftclaw immediately, and I still get the unit back after the 20 seconds. So yeah, this is the Crystal Fiend, and I think this is where the pain begins for Pure Nature, because as I said, Pure Nature mostly works over DPS, not DPS, works over dots like poison from Spirit Hunters, and has no burst damage, and this is where just the Crystal Fiend can heal up all of my units. So the idea of playing Borovos isn't bad, because he also had like 2 S units in the background, and with the Borovos he might distract me and also force me to use different sources of CC. Because if he just spams Ghost Spears, even though they are M counters and quite strong, I can just Hurricane all of them at once, and that would be a bad situation. But yeah, you can see the value of this Crystal Fiend. My Shamans are like now more free to sort of either heal up the unit that just takes the direct focus, or just attack in these rotations. So another Oink, so I'm trying to move around with the Dryad, trying to protect it a little bit, but also getting a better unit split over time. Using the Oink here to save the Swiftclaw, and also moves directly to the Crystal Fiend, so it also gets a heal, but yeah, the Shaman heal also is more than enough. So in the end, this thing drops, and yeah, I think in the end there's nothing you can do at this point, and that is why most nature mirrors actually end up in tier 1 if no player has like the abilities to like really defend the tier 2 push, and that's actually the case if both players would play pure nature. Like, the games would never last longer than tier 1. Like, for instance, if I go earlier tier 2 with Stonekin, I might have chances to defend a little better against this M unit spam with something like a Stone Tempest that applies the knockback to multiple units and also deals a lot of damage. So in the meantime, we can see a Barovas split attack, since Despooo was kind of sure that he does not defend this. He tried to apply split pressure, and this also binds more power for me if I play Stormsinger Root or Stormsinger Frostbite, whatever. I already sent my Swiftclaw down because it cannot attack through the wall, but the ranged units are capable of doing that, and they are getting the tier 1. In the end, this tier 2 actually costed Despooo the game, which is kind of unfortunate for him, because I think he played an excellent tier 1 here. He really outplayed me in this early skirmish, and that was such a beautiful Dryad micromanagement, I think, because he was doing it with 2 Dryads at once while keeping his units alive, and also the unit composition he used was quite effective in my opinion, with the Tree Spirit and the early Spearman. A very, very interesting idea of playing the nature mirror, and this is why I wanted to show this replay. In the end, yeah, as I said, the tier 1 costed him the game. He still was ahead after the skirmish at the monument, even though that was favorable for me. I still was like permanently down by like 10 to 20 power. It was very close, but I guess you know what I mean. But yeah, pure nature tier 2 does really poorly into nature tier 1, especially when there are the units that are this close to the orb. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.